sweet lady, sure I'll sing you a song if you sit with me all night long.
Hey, I'm Colin Murray. This is Jeffrey Moordell. We're here for Mushin Training Center's Technique of the Week. This week we'll be looking at the 100 kilos position, or the basic side control. So for our basic side control, the first thing we need an underhook and a crossface, right? Our underhook comes underneath here, our crossface comes through here, and we'll typically gable grip our hands together right here, right? A lot of people just kind of take that for granted, but each of these two things serves a different purpose. Our crossface is what makes Jeff go flat, right? If Jeff's turned up to his side, I can come with just a crossface and drive into him and make him go flat. But if I try to keep him here, Jeff can start shrimping out and he'll be able to fix his position. This underhook keeps Jeff flat. If I have Jeff flat and I only have my underhook, if he tries to come back up and turn into me, he can't do it. He's going to struggle, right? But if he started up on his side right here and I only have this underhook and I try to drive him flat, he won't go, right? So I need to use these two in conjunction. Crossface makes him flat, underhook keeps him flat. That's important to remember too for when you try to submit somebody. Once you've got them flat like this, you don't necessarily need this anymore to keep them there. We can take this arm out and start looking for submissions and switch to Kimuras or arm bars or Americanas or whatever we want to do, right? So here. A big mistake that people do when they lock up here, especially smaller guys, is they'll drive their shoulder across the chin like this. If I'm driving the shoulder across Jeff's chin, my hips come up, I become really, really light. If Jeff bridges that direction, I go, whoa, and I'm going to go up and I'm going to go over, right? Especially if he's a lot bigger than me, if he's a lot stronger than me, I don't want to be putting any sort of pressure across his body. I want to try and keep all my weight on one side. If all my weight's on one side, I'll become a lot heavier. I'm not a very big person, so I can get bridged pretty easily. So instead of driving this direction, what I'll do is I'll drive toward the top of Jeff's head. When I drive this way, notice his face still turns that direction. If he tries to turn back into me, he still can't do it, right? I've still got all this nasty crossface pressure here, right? But I'm not coming across his body like this. I'm just going boom, straight to the top of his head. So my body weight gets to stay on this side of him, right? The next important thing are my knees here. So in a perfect world, if I can get this knee underneath Jeff's arm and my knee up by his head right here, that's awesome, that's ideal. He really can't escape as long as I have this up underneath here. I don't need this to keep control, but it helps a whole lot, right? But this knee, on the other hand, I need this. I need this knee pressured up into Jeff's hip, right? Every single time Jeff shrimps and he moves, I need to fix this, right? If I give him any sort of space right here, that knee is going to come right in like that. He's going to recover guard. So I'm constantly readjusting, keeping this knee glued to his hip. I'm not staying stationary. Always readjusting, always moving this knee, always keeping it driven into there, right? I use my knees here instead of like my legs or my hips. Some people, when they control side mount, they'll drop a leg down like this, or they'll do the opposite and drop a leg down like that. I'm not the biggest fan of that because say I drop this leg down. There's still a little hole right here that Jeff can bring his knee into and start recovering guard, right? On this side, it's not as big of a deal, except it's harder for me to move. So if Jeff starts shrimping away from me, when I'm trying to bring this knee back in, it's going to be hard because I don't have this leg to move myself in pressure anymore. So I like to be up on both of my knees. This causes a problem with some people because they'll be up like this, right? When I'm like this, my hips are higher than my chest. Whenever my hips are higher than my chest, I become light again. So if I'm right here and Jeff bridges me over, boom, I go right over. I need to keep my hips as low to the ground as I possibly can. So when I'm here and I have these knees up high, I'm going to take them and I'm going to spread them wide, right? That's one of the reasons why people will drop this leg right here so that their hips stay low. But instead of dropping this leg to keep our hips low, all we need to do is take our knees and spread them out, right? So I take these knees, I spread them out wide. Now my hips are lower than my chest. If you're struggling with getting your hips that low, think about it almost like sprawling, right? Lots of us like to try and keep this head pinned right here. But when you're first practicing, you can take this head and look up to the sky and drop these hips low, right? Then you know your hips are lower than your chest and you'll be really heavy. Once you're in this position, you can then drop your head and you know your hips are lower than your chest. Whereas if I were to come here and drop my head first, my hips are high, right? So I'll lower my hips and then I'll drop my head. And now I'm in a really good tight 100 kilos position. Driving up toward the top of Jeff's head. All my weight's on this side. If Jeff tries to shrimp, I got control. Right? He can keep shrimping all he wants. This knee's gonna stay glued to him. He can't even turn into me because my good cross-face pressure, my good underhook, pressure on the shoulder there, keeping him flat. If he tries to bridge, I'm way too heavy. Right? Go ahead and try again. Ain't gonna happen. Right? Because all my weight's hovering on this side. I'm not coming all the way across his body like this. Where now, if he goes and bridges, problems. Right? Staying as low as we possibly can. Drive to the top of his head. Underhook and our crossface. That's our 100 kilos position. See y'all next week.
Soft as can be. Oh, sugar, why won't you love me? Well, I ain't that old. I always feel like dying. It's 'cause you women make me feel